Imagine waking up tomorrow morning to the sound of your alarm. You reach out to turn it off, but your hand doesn't move the way it used to. You look down and you realize you've transformed. You are no longer human. You are a giant, monstrous insect. In 1915, Franz Kafka wrote The Metamorphosis, a story that begins with this exact nightmare. But the true horror of Kafka's story isn't the physical transformation. The true horror is Gregor Samsa's very first thought after realizing he is a bug. He doesn't panic about his health or ask why this happened. Instead, he looks at the clock and thinks, how am I going to catch the 5 o'clock train for work? Why is it that even in our darkest moments, our biggest fear is not our own ruin, but our failure to be useful? To understand Gregor's panic, we have to look at what his life was before the transformation. Gregor was a traveling salesman. He didn't love his job, but he was the sole provider for his parents and his sister. His entire identity, his entire value in the eyes of his family, was tied to his ability to bring home a paycheck. This is what philosophers call the instrumentalization of the self. When you live in a society that values you only for your utility, you stop being a human being. You become an instrument, a cog in a machine. And the tragedy of the modern worker is that we have internalized this. Like Gregor, when we experience burnout, when our mental health collapses, our first instinct isn't self-compassion, it is guilt. I'm being lazy. I'm falling behind. What will my boss think? We have become so obsessed with being productive that we would rather drag a broken, exhausted body to work than face the shame of being useless. As the days pass in Kafka's story, Gregor remains locked in his room. He cannot work. He cannot speak. And slowly the attitude of his family begins to shift. At first they feel pity, but as the reality sets in, as they realize Gregor will never return to his job, pity turns into disgust, and disgust turns into resentment. This brings us to a painful philosophical truth. Do the people in our lives love us, or do they love the version of us that serves them? The existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre argued that human relationships are a constant battle for definition. We are always trying to justify our existence through the eyes of others. But when you can no longer perform your role, the illusion shatters. Gregor's father, frustrated by this useless creature in his home, throws an apple at him. It gets embedded in Gregor's back, rotting there, slowly poisoning him. The apple is a symbol of the world's resentment. It is the physical weight of being a burden to those you once supported. But there is one moment of pure beauty in the tragedy. One evening, Gregor's sister plays the violin in the living room. Despite his monstrous form, despite his decaying body, Gregor is drawn to the music. He creeps out of his room, dirty and covered in dust. He thinks to himself, was he an animal? That music could move him so? In this moment, Kafka shows us what actually makes us human. It is not our jobs, our social status, or our productivity. It is our capacity to feel, to love art, to be moved by beauty. But the family doesn't see Gregor's soul. They only see the bug. The sister, once his closest ally, declares, we must try to get rid of it. It is killing us. Hearing this, Gregor crawls back into his dark room. He realizes his existence is only causing pain to the people he loves. And in the quiet of the night, he takes his last breath. Gregor Samsa died because he couldn't survive in a world that only valued his utility. But his story is not just a tragedy from the 20th century. It is a warning for us today. Every time you prioritize your work over your health, every time you judge your self-worth by your achievements, and every time you sacrifice your passions to fit into a mold, you are slowly turning into the bug. You are more than your productivity. You are more than the roles you play for others. Don't wait until you are broken to remember your humanity. Listen to the music while you still can. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, subscribe to join us for more philosophical journeys. Until next time, take care of yourself.